Sony just dropped a cinema camera that nobody saw coming. And it's about to shake up everything we thought we knew about their cinema line strategy. I'm Roy Wangu, and nearly after 2 decades of selecting the perfect cameras for Fortune 100 companies and indie creators alike, I can tell you this. This camera is Sony testing the future of cinematography, and they're doing it at a price point that's going to make a lot of people very nervous. In May, Sony quietly announced the FX2, positioning it between the FX30 and the FX3. Now, we have featured the FX30 and the FX3. Check it out on our YouTube channel. This camera is positioned at about $2,698. But here's what most reviews won't tell you. This isn't just filling up a gap in their lineup. This is Sony's new content creation business unit flexing its muscles. And if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss the bigger picture. Having shot with most of the cinema line cameras from Sony in different environments, from films to commercials to industrial products, I'm going to break down exactly what these specs mean in real-world environments, and more importantly, who should actually buy this camera. Let's start with the elephant in the room. That 33 megapixel full-frame sensor. This is the highest resolution in any cinema line. And before you say, but Roy, more pixels don't mean better video, let me stop you right there. When I'm shooting for brands that need both hero video content and high-resolution stills for their campaigns, this sensor configuration could be a game changer. According to the specs, you're getting 7K oversampling to 4K, which should mean naturally textured footage that doesn't scream digital, with 15 stops of dynamic range and dual base ISO at 800 and 4000. You're matching the FX3's professional standards. But here's the catch. It's a big one. You get a 1.5x crop when shooting at maximum resolution and frame rate. Based on my experiences with similar limitations on other Sony cameras, this could be a deal breaker for some workflows. Now, let's talk about what you're not getting. The FX2 tops out at 59.94 frames per second in DCI 4K for the documentary and corporate clients. That's not an issue. But if you're shooting high-speed product shots or sports, the FX3's 120 frames per second capability suddenly looks worth that extra 1200. You get both H.264 all intra and H.265 long GOP recording with the 422 10-bit internal. And yes, full DCI 4K output via HDMI for your external recorders. The codec options are solid, matching what we've come to expect from the cinema line. But here's where Sony got clever and controversial. This is the first cinema line camera with an integrated tilting EVF. Now, I've already heard cinematographers complaining about this being unriggable. But let me share a perspective from my shoots. When you're shooting exteriors in bright light, an integrated EVF can be a lifesaver when you're working solo. The screen in the back of most cameras reflect the light back, but now having an integrated EVF gives you the option to take a peek and a look at the exposure and a look at the light and be able to expose what you're looking at. And that creates a second point of view than just looking at the LCD. According to professional reviews I've been studying, the AI-powered autofocus is 30% faster than the previous generation. It showed handling everything from faces to animals in challenging lighting conditions. That's a significant improvement if the real-world performance matches the claims. And then there's this built-in IP streaming with RTMP, RTMPS, and SRT protocols. While everyone's focused on the sensor, Sony quietly made this potentially the most livestream-ready cinema camera under $3,000. So, who is this camera actually for? Solo filmmakers and documentary filmmakers who need the EVF and don't want to build a rig every time they shoot. The integrated design philosophy here is clearly targeting run-and-gun shooters. Hybrid content creators who've been trying to justify carrying two camera bodies, one for stills, one for video. That 33 megapixel sensor addresses a real pain point I see with many of my clients. Live stream professionals who want cinema quality without a Blackmagic 8M setup. And here's the big one. Agencies and production companies looking for a B or C cinema camera that can punch above its weight. At about $2,000, it's positioned perfectly for this role. But let's be real about the limitations based on what we know. If you need higher frame rates, the FX3 remains the best bet for 120 frames per second. On a tighter budget, the FX30 at $2,000 is still an incredible value, especially after the recent price drop. If you need IBIS or IBIS for handheld critical work, this is a critical omission. There's no in-body stabilization according to the specs. That's going to hurt for a lot of documentary filmmakers. Professional reviewers are reporting a 26.8 milliseconds rolling shutter. That's significant and will show in fast pans or quick moving subjects. Here's what I think is really happening. Sony's using the FX2 as a testing ground. That integrated EVF, that's them seeing if cinema cameras can be more accessible. The AI features, they're laying groundwork for their entire 2025 roadmap. With the FX32 rumored to get a global shutter sensor and firmware updates coming this summer for the entire cinema line, Sony's playing a longer game here. The establishment of their new content creation business unit in April tells us they're seriously about to reimagine the future of content creation tools. Look, after 2 decades of selecting cinema cameras for every type of production, here's my take. The FX2 isn't trying to be the best at everything. It's trying to be the smartest purchase for a specific type of creator. And if that's you, this camera could transform your workflow. But here's the real question. Is Sony's vision of accessible cinema cameras the future, or they're diluting what makes cinema camera lines special? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what you all think about this integrated EVF situation. Once I get my hands on one, I'll do a field test and share the real-world footage. If you found this analysis helpful, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. I've got a hands-on review on our YouTube channel that covers Canon C80, Canon C70, the Blackmagic camera, and trust me, the competition is getting interesting. And if you need help selecting the perfect cinema setup for your next production, you know where to find me. This is Roy Wangu, reminding you that the camera is just a tool. It's the story that matters.